You've probably driven past one today. Maybe you stopped, filled up your tank, grabbed a coffee, and left without thinking twice about it. But here's a question almost nobody asks. When you hand over your card to pay for gas, how much of that money does the gas station actually keep? The answer might surprise you. On a lot of days, it's close to nothing. Sometimes it's actually negative. Gas stations lose money selling gas on purpose. So if that's true, how does an industry with over 100,000 locations in the US alone stay in business? How do some of these owners end up buying a second location, then a third, then eventually a small empire of them? Today, we're breaking down the real economics of owning a gas station, the money nobody shows you, the hidden business inside the business, and why the pumps out front might be the least important part of the whole operation. Let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest misconception, that a gas station makes its money selling gasoline. It doesn't, not really. Fuel margins are razor thin. On average, a gas station might make somewhere between 3 and 7 cents of profit per gallon sold. Not per dollar, per gallon. So if someone fills up a 15-gallon tank, the station might clear less than $1 on that entire transaction. And that's before you subtract the cost of running the pumps, the electricity, the card processing fees, which, by the way, are often a fixed percentage of the total sale, meaning the station is paying a processing fee on fuel that barely has any margin to begin with. On certain days, when wholesale fuel prices spike faster than the station can adjust its prices at the pump, some locations genuinely sell gas at a loss just to keep customers coming in. So why sell gas at all if it barely breaks even? Because gas is the hook. It's the reason people pull into the lot in the first place. Think of it like a grocery store putting milk at the very back. Except in this case, the milk is out on the street, visible from the highway, advertised in giant lit-up numbers taller than the building itself. The fuel isn't the business. The fuel is the advertisement for the business. So if the pumps aren't where the money is, where is it? Walk inside almost any gas station and you'll notice something. It's not really a gas station anymore. It's a convenience store that happens to have pumps outside. This is where the actual profit lives. A bag of chips that cost the station maybe 50 cents to stock can sell for $2 or more. A fountain drink, made mostly of syrup, water, and ice, can carry margins north of 70%. Coffee is even better. Some estimates put coffee margins at 80 to 90%, because the actual cost of the beans, cup, and lid is a tiny fraction of what's charged at the counter. Cigarettes and tobacco products are a strange case. Margins are usually thin on the product itself, but they're often the single biggest driver of foot traffic. People who buy cigarettes tend to buy something else with them: a drink, a snack, a lottery ticket. So even a low-margin item can be worth stocking if it pulls people through the door more often. Then there's the lottery. Most stations make very little directly from lottery ticket sales, usually a small commission. But again, it's a traffic generator. Someone stops in for a ticket and leaves with a candy bar and a soda too. This is the pattern that repeats across the entire inside of the store. Low-margin traffic generators. Gas, lottery, tobacco, paired with high-margin impulse items, snacks, drinks, coffee, small electronics like phone chargers. A well-run gas station isn't really in the fuel business or even the convenience store business, it's in the traffic conversion business. Get people to stop and then sell them everything except the thing that made them stop. Now let's talk about what it actually costs to run one of these places, because this is where a lot of the romantic idea of owning a gas station falls apart. Real estate and lease costs. Gas stations need to be in high visibility, high traffic locations, corners, highway exits, busy intersections. That kind of land is expensive, whether you're buying it or leasing it. Many independent owners don't actually own the land. They lease it, sometimes from the very fuel brand whose logo is on the sign. Fuel supply agreements. Most gas stations aren't fully independent. They sign contracts with a fuel distributor or a major brand, agreeing to buy fuel at a set wholesale price and sell under that brand's name. These agreements often come with requirements: minimum purchase volumes, branding costs, sometimes even requirements about how the convenience store looks and what it sells. Underground storage tanks. This is one people rarely think about. Gas stations store thousands of gallons of fuel underground, and those tanks are subject to strict environmental regulations. They need regular inspection, leak detection systems, and eventually replacement, which can cost well into six figures per tank when it happens. A single environmental violation or leak can result in massive cleanup costs and fines that can bankrupt a small operator overnight. Labor. Convenience stores typically run 16 to 24 hours a day, which means multiple shifts, overnight staffing, and the security concerns that come with a cash-heavy business open late at night. Card processing fees. As mentioned earlier, these hit particularly hard on fuel sales because the margin is so small to begin with. Every swipe costs the business a percentage, and on a $60 fill-up with only a dollar or two of margin, that fee can eat a meaningful chunk of the profit. Here's something that surprises people. The big oil companies whose names are on the sign, the ones you'd assume own the station, usually don't. Most major fuel brands sold off their company-owned stations decades ago and shifted to a licensing model instead. They sell fuel wholesale to independent operators or franchisees, who then run the actual station under that brand's name and signage. The oil company gets a steady, add all of this up, and you start to see why so many gas stations are owned not by individuals chasing a dream, but by larger operators who run multiple locations, because the fixed costs are so heavy that scale is often the only way to make the math work comfortably. Insurance. Because you're storing flammable liquid underground and operating a retail store, insurance premiums are significantly higher than a typical small business. This is actually one of the most realistic paths to real wealth in this industry. Not owning one gas station, but slowly building a small portfolio of 5, 10, 20 locations where the economies of scale on supply contracts, staffing systems, and insurance start to meaningfully improve the margins. Predictable revenue stream from fuel distribution without the operational headache of running thousands of individual retail stores. This means the person actually standing behind the counter, or the small company that owns that location, is usually an independent business owner or a franchisee, not the oil giant. Some of these independent owners start with one location and, over years, reinvest their convenience store profits into acquiring more. A single station is a tough, thin-margin small business. A regional network of them starts to look more like a genuine cash flow machine. Let's talk about risk, because this industry has some unusually specific ways to lose money. Fuel price volatility. When wholesale prices spike suddenly, a station is stuck selling fuel it bought at yesterday's price at prices that might now be underwater. Because raising prices at the pump instantly and keeping the big sign updated takes time and can scare off customers who see a sudden jump. Theft, both external and internal. Drive-offs where someone fills up and leaves without paying are a constant drain. So is internal theft, since a cash and inventory-heavy retail environment is genuinely difficult to fully monitor around the clock. Environmental liability. As mentioned, an underground tank leak isn't just an expensive repair, it can be a long-term environmental cleanup obligation that lingers for years and costs far more than the business's annual profit. The slow decline of in-store tobacco sales. As smoking rates have declined over the decades in many countries, stations that leaned heavily on tobacco traffic have had to rebuild their business models around food and beverage instead. Electric vehicles. This is the long-term question mark hanging over the entire industry. As EV adoption grows, the fundamental hook that gets people to stop needing gasoline slowly weakens. Some forward-thinking operators are already pivoting, installing EV charging stations and rebuilding their locations to be a destination in their own right. Better food, actual seating, faster charging while people wait 15 to 30 minutes instead of the 90 seconds it takes to pump gas. That shift from quick stop for fuel to place people linger for 15 minutes, is arguably going to define which gas station operators survive the next 20 years and which ones don't. So, after all of this, is owning a gas station a good business? The honest answer is it depends heavily on scale and location. Let me know in the comments, what business should we break down next? See you in the next one.